किं संभृतं रुचिरयोर्द्विजशृङ्गयोस्ते मध्ये कृशो वहसि यत्र दृशि श्रिता मे पंकोरुणासुरभिरात्मविषाण इद्रिक् येनाश्रमं सुभगमे सुरभिकरोषि किं संभृतं रुचरयोर्द्विजशृङ्गयोस्ते मध्ये कृशो वहसि यत्र दृशि श्रिता मे पंकोरुणासुरभिरात्मविषाण इद्रिक् येनाश्रमं सुभगमे सुरभिकरोषि कृशो वहसि यत्र दृशि श्रिता मे संभृतं रुचिरयोर्द्विजशृङ्गयोस्ते मध्ये कृशो वहसि यत्र दृशि श्रिता मे
संभृतं रुचयोर्द्विजशृङ्गयोस्ते
Ladies, संभृतं Kim, what? Sambritam, filled. Ruchirayoho, very beautiful. Dvija, oh Brahmana. Shringayoho, within two horns. Te, your. Madhye, in the middle. Krishaha, thin. Vahasi, you are carrying. Yatra, wherein. Drishihi, eyes. Shrita, attached. Me, my. Pankaha, powder. Arunaha, red. Surabhihi, fragrant. Atmavishane, on the two horns. Etheric, such. Yena, by which. Ashramam, place of residence. Subhag, O most fortunate one. Me, my. Surabhi karoshi, you are perfuming. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Agnidhara then praised Purvachitti's raised breasts. He said, My dear Brahmana, your waist is very thin, yet with great difficulty you are carefully carrying two horns, to which my eyes have become attracted. What is filling those two beautiful horns? You seem to have spread fragrant red powder upon them, powder that is like the rising morning sun. O most fortunate one, I beg to inquire where you have gotten this fragrant powder that is perfuming my ashram, my place of residence. So this purport, if we hear this from our contaminated consciousness, it can be very disturbing sometimes. Last few days some brahmacharis were telling me that Prabhuji, these purports are, and the verses that are going on are very sometimes disturbing to our consciousness. But actually, if we hear these purports or read these purports from the perspective that Maharaj Agnidhara is not seeing a woman, he is seeing a man or a Muni Putra. And somehow he is confusing, he is not sure, how can a man be so beautiful? And Srila Prabhupada in today's purport explains how come he is seeing Purvachitti as a man. So hear this from the perspective that Agnidhara, a great king, a very devoted king, a very obedient king, a very responsible king, is seeing a Muni Putra, a sage's son, who happens to be quite beautiful. And in a bewildered state that how can a man be so beautiful, he's speaking what he is speaking here. And Srila Prabhupada is connecting to the consciousness of Maharaj Agnidhara and expressing us his consciousness through Srila Prabhupada's purports. Agnidhara, the purport of Srila Prabhupada, appreciated Purvachitti's raised breasts. After seeing the girl's breasts, he became almost mad. Nevertheless, he could not recognize whether Purvachitti was a boy or a girl, for as a result of his austerity, he saw no distinction between the two. He therefore addressed her with the word Dvija, O Brahmana. Yet, why should a Dvija, a Brahmana boy, have horns on his chest? Because the boy's waist was thin, Agnidhra thought he was carrying the horns with great difficulty, and therefore they must be filled with something very valuable. Otherwise, why would he carry them? When a woman's waist is thin and her breasts are full, she looks very attractive. Agnidhra, his eyes attracted, contemplated the heavy breasts on the girl's thin body and imagined how her back must sustain them. Agnidhra imagined her raised breasts were two horns she had covered with cloth so that others would not see the valuables within them. Agnidhra, however, was very anxious to see them. Therefore he requested, quote, "Please uncover them so that I can see what you are carrying. Rest assured that I will not take it away. If you feel an inconvenience in removing the covering, I can help you. I myself can uncover them to see what valuable things those raised horns have contained." Unquote. He was also surprised to see the red dust of perfumed kumkum spread over her breasts. Nevertheless, still considering Purvachitti a boy, Agnidhra addressed her as Subhag, most fortunate Muni. The boy must have been fortunate, otherwise, how simply by standing there could he perfume Agnidhra's entire ashram? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guruh Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschat Desh Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Mukham karoti vachalam panghum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Krishna Balram, Shri Radha Shyam Sundar Ji ki jai. I beg for the blessings of senior Vaishnavas and all of you here to try to address this difficult to address purport in one sense. At the same time, a very purifying experience, at least for me, contemplating upon what to share. Maharaj Agnidhra, a great king or great son of another great king, Maharaj Priyavrat, took the responsibility of ruling the kingdom on the order of his father, Maharaj Priyavrat. when Maharaj Priyavrat wanted to leave the kingdom to take to the renounced order of life. And Maharaj Agnidhara, as a very responsible, obedient king, took to this service of ruling the kingdom, not to enjoy the facilities that come as a king, but simply to serve the citizens, considering each of his citizens as his own child. Please appreciate the sense of responsibility that Maharaj Agnidhara must be feeling within his heart. The position of a leader is not a position of enjoyment. Although it is it appears so. But the position of a leader is a position of greater responsibility. Responsibility towards those who are put as your subordinates. As Srimad Bhagavatam says, that the duty of a king or a father or of a mother or any leader is to deliver the dependents from the cycle of birth and death. It's a big responsibility. It's not a position of fun, of enjoyment. And Maharaj Agnidhara, very conscious of this responsibility, took up this service as a very obedient king to rule the kingdom. He thought that this is another very beautiful aspect. The moment one is given a leadership post, one doesn't think just how to render my service in my life. He thinks of the future. This is one of the very important qualification of a mature leader, that he anticipates the future. Future doesn't mean just few 5, 10, 15, 20 years of his life, few generations to come. And that's why a king always wanted to have at least one son. The son that was required by the king was simply to be able to delegate the responsibilities. First of all, train that son to become qualified king, and then to delegate the responsibility so that he can take up a higher responsibility of renouncing the kingdom. So having a son was not just like sometimes today it's considered women, girl children as very not so good, and we want a male child so we can carry on with our generation, with our family lineage. What is the value of our family lineage in this age of Kali? But the kings, they were conscious of the fact that the world requires a pure leader. And it's my responsibility, having been given by my predecessors, that before I leave this kingdom, I should give this responsibility of the kingdom to a very qualified, responsible personality. And for that purpose, being very conscious of their sense of responsibility for the future generations to come, he wanted a qualified son. And to have a qualified son, one needs a qualified, equally qualified wife. And the wife was not just for enjoyment. It was to give a qualified son for the whole world to be taken care of. In that mood, Maharaj Agnidhara, looking for a qualified wife, he went to Mandara Hill, because he knew that that's where the heavenly damsels come. This was not from the point of view of being they will be more beautiful, but they'll be more qualified. So qualified son can come through her, who can rule the kingdom after me. Just see, this is the sense of responsibility a leader should have. And here Maharaj Agnidhara was trained by Maharaj Priyavrat in that sense of responsibility. And he went to Mandara Hill. It is mentioned, he started praying to Lord Brahma for having a qualified wife. It is mentioned, Brahma, having understood the desire of Maharaj Agnidhara through the medium of Lord Vishnu as the super soul, sent Purvachitti. And then we hear a series of verses about the beauty of Purvachitti. And Maharaj Agnidhra was getting captivated by that beauty. At the same time, he knew the purpose for which he is there. He is not here for enjoyment, he is here for austerity. He was performing some austerity to please Lord Brahma, to send a qualified wife so that he can have a qualified child to rule the kingdom after him. It's not easy to train someone who is very difficult to train. It is mentioned in the Shastras and Srila Prabhupada's purports also that sometimes one can give birth to an untrainable child, in the sense of very difficult to train personality, if one doesn't properly conceive the child. So part of preparation as a parent or as a king is the samskara, like Srila Prabhupada talks about as Garbhadhan samskara, to have a qualified son who is trainable. Or rather, a very qualified son can be born who is already trained from previous lives, and this life not much effort has to be put upon him to further train him to be a pure devotee of Krishna. So Maharaj Agnidhra, with these kind of intentions, had gone to Mandara hill. But as the nature of the material energy, the beauty of Purvachitti's physical form was kind of bewildering him. Kamais taister hritagyanaha, Prabhupada says in one of the purports, previous purports, that his intelligence, although he was being conscious of why is he there, but it was getting bewildered. Things were getting hazy because the beauty of her form was so attractive to his eyes and his heart that he was getting confused. As Srila Prabhupada says here, that he could not recognize whether Purvachitti was a boy or a girl, for as a result of his austerity, he saw no distinction between the two. And one of the previous purports, Prabhupada says actually he knew she's a girl, but she was so beautiful that he was getting just bewildered. So this was like a very confusing state for Maharaj Agnidhra. On one hand, by the power of his austerities, he had kind of gone beyond this conception of a man and a woman. And he was just seeing that this personality, this form, as a Muni Putra, Subhaga, oh most fortunate one. And with that consciousness, he was seeing the bodily form, that here I am meeting a Muni Putra. I am meeting a very pure, very beautiful sage or son of a sage. Generally, bodily beauty is a sign of piety from the last birth. So he was thinking that here is a very pious soul. And if you carefully, from this perspective, if you study the purport, he is feeling kind of compassion that these two big horns that you are carrying, why you are necessarily burdening your body? Your body is so thin. And you are carrying these big horns. Must be so difficult for your thin waist, and your back must be having trouble carrying these big horns. If you see from this perspective, Maharaj Agnidhra is feeling that pain in his heart for why necessarily you have to carry these horns. What's so valuable that you have to keep it to yourself like this? Keep it somewhere else, those valuable things, whatever you are carrying within those horns. So although there's bewilderness, at the same time there's the result by the power of his austerity. He's not really distinguishing that, he's not really convinced that this is a woman. As Prabhupada is here mentioning in this purport. This is a stage of Sthita Pragya, actually. Sripad Ramanujacharya explains in his commentaries on this series of verses 2.54 Bhagavad Gita, how there are different levels of a Sthita Pragya. The lowest level is, there are 4 different levels he talks about. Very beautiful to understand and contemplate upon. The lowest level of Asthita Pragya is when he sees the object of sense enjoyment, he's getting attracted towards it, but he knows this is sense enjoyment, I should not go for it. And he somehow restrains the engagement of his senses in enjoying that sense object. He says no to it. Always getting attracted. So he's just like a fight between the heart and the intelligence. The heart is saying, I want to enjoy it. Intelligence says, no, this is not meant for your enjoyment, it's meant to serve Krishna. That's the lowest level of a Sthita Pragya. If he says yes for it, he is not a Sthita Pragya. But when he is able to say somehow a no, he is some category of a Sthita Pragya. The higher than that is, he is easily able to say no. He sees the object of sense enjoyment, he is getting attracted, but not so difficult to say no. Third level of Sthita Pragya is, he is neutral to it. He is not really getting attracted towards it. His sense enjoyment is there, so what? And the highest level, he explains, is he is not identifying that object as an object of sense enjoyment. The consciousness is not registering that this is an object for my enjoyment. He is just saying that this is an object to serve Krishna with. The consciousness is not even registering it as sense object for sense enjoyment, This was the consciousness of Shukdev Goswami while he was walking from his house and he saw those women bathing naked. He didn't even register them as an object of enjoyment. And the women could understand that here is a very pure soul, like a child. For a little child, he doesn't get attracted to the form of a woman. He doesn't even see that form as an object of enjoyment. So this is the highest stage of Sthita Pragya. And Srila Prabhupada in those purports, talks about the highest stage only. Prajaya hati yada kaman sarvan parth manogatan. Atman nevatmana tushta sthitadhir muni ruchyate. That he is completely free from the desire to enjoy. When he sees an object of sense gratification, or a sense object, he doesn't even think, he doesn't even desire of enjoying it. This is the highest category according to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada only talks about that one category in his purports. This is where Srila Prabhupada expects us to come. That we don't even register the sense object as an object of enjoyment for us. But we are far away from that standard. So at least let us aspire for being at some lower stages of Sthita Pragya where the object of sense enjoyment is there, but at least we should be able to say a comfortable no to that object of enjoyment. And every day these tests come in our life. Every day, practically throughout the day. Shastras at many places mentions the precautions to be taken. I know one brahmachari, he used to be like a fanatic brahmachari, and he had in his little locker, he had put quotations. Women are like snakes. Don't dare get near them, or they'll bite you to death. And some places, some statements, and some maybe speculations, or some statements he had written so that he can protect himself from this attraction towards the opposite gender. This is a very, very strong attraction. Srila Prabhupada calls them invisible shackles of the material energy. The most powerful binding factor in this material world is this attraction between the opposite genders. Of course, these days it's between same genders, as Sri Jananand Maharaj was talking about. Actually, this Prabhupada says in one purport, in no other species there is attraction between the same gender except human beings. So human beings who are having attraction in the same species are even lower than animals. It's a much more degraded level of consciousness. They are sub-animals who are feeling attraction in the same gender. No other species has that kind of attraction. But to have attraction towards the opposite gender is very, very natural. And it's very powerful. The attraction is very powerful, very irresistible. Shastras, a big chunk of Srimad Bhagavatam talks about this attraction. It's not something to be hidden. This is not good, you shouldn't talk about it. Rather, Shastras openly talk about it, so that you know the dangers of it. That's one thing. And secondly, how to overcome it. So fanaticism, or this kind of an attitude where actually there's nothing wrong with man or woman, Prabhupada said. Man is good, woman is good, Prabhupada once said. But the combination is not good, he said. Seeing the man as a man for a woman, or seeing the woman as a woman for a man is not good. So it's a perception that is not good. The problem is with the perception, not with the personalities. Like here, Agnidhara was seeing that Purvachitti as Muni Putra. So there was no problem as such. But the intelligence was getting bewildered. How can this man be so beautiful? Muni Putra be so beautiful, extremely beautiful. So simply negation to this enjoyment, this attraction is not the solution. At least not prescribed by Srila Prabhupada or the process of bhakti. The Mayavadis who talk very strong statements against appreciating the beauty of a woman, especially the breasts of a woman. Shankaracharya has many verses quoted, I don't remember the verses, but he says that how you should not see the form of the beautiful breasts of a woman. But it's like saying, don't think of a blue-colored monkey. And immediately you think of a blue-colored monkey. So these don'ts really are not as powerful to help us avoid those thoughts. So the Vaishnava Acharyas or the past process of bhakti doesn't too much stress on negation. Avoid the sight of a woman. Of course, for practicing sadhakas, one need to keep a safe and a healthy distance from the opposite gender. One should not put oneself in a position of weakness. One should not put oneself in a place where we know that my attachments may overrule my consciousness. Therefore, it is recommended sadhu sangha sarva shastra koi. Keep strong association and avoid weak association or circumstance that can make us fall weak, make us fall victim to the material energy. Therefore, we recommend to devotees, especially in brahmachari training, especially for the new bhaktas, we strongly recommend they shouldn't be alone. Because when one thinks one is alone, actually nobody is alone. The super soul is always there. The 12 directions, the 12 witnesses are always watching us. But we think we are alone, and that's the time when the urges from within, they trouble a lot. So this is like putting oneself in a weak situation, putting oneself in a place where one is alone. Therefore, we recommend devotees, especially the brahmacharis, I tell them that when you travel out of the ashram, travel with another devotee to be on the safe side, especially while traveling in trains and buses. It can be very disturbing, it can be very distracting, and I have experienced many devotees have come and expressed how their consciousness gets so disturbed when they travel from one place to another. And our movement is a preaching movement. We can't really avoid completely traveling. So this is a thin line when to allow devotees to start traveling. The very concept of a Gurukula is where one is at one place. Therefore, traveling is not very recommended in the early stages of one's growth in Krishna consciousness. Because when you go out in this world, you can't avoid seeing these, especially in this age of Kali. Everywhere you see the opposite gender is being exposed and being propagated for their personal sense gratifications. So, yes, we can keep certain precautions of avoiding oneself to be in a weak situation. All of us may have different areas of weaknesses. So we have to identify those areas and take care to not to put oneself in those weak situations. But Srila Prabhupada generally recommends the positive solutions to this problem. Yes, this attraction is very strong. It's very difficult to overcome. Matra swasa duhitrava navavikta sano bhavet balavan indriya gramo vidvam samapi karshati. Shastra say, Srimad Bhagavatam mentions how Matra with one's own mother, Swastra one's sister, Duhitrava one's daughter, navavikta sano bhavet. Don't sit too close to them. Balavan indriya gramo, the senses are very powerful. Vidvam sam api. Even a man in knowledge, karshati, can get extremely bewildered. That's how powerful is this attraction. Very difficult to overcome by any material standards. But Shastras recommend Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasovajam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. By experiencing something higher, there is no other way we can overcome this powerful attraction unless we have something superior to attract us. Simply negating this attraction will just not work. Not possible. Though we have to take precautions, but simply negating just will not work. Just like Narad Muni in his previous life as a Dasi Putra, he got attracted by these four Bhakti Vedantas, by hearing from them, by tasting their powerful remnants. He became so attracted to them that he wanted to live with them. But they told him, no, we want you to take care of your mother. Till the time she's alive, take care of her. Now, attachment to parents, I have experience in training devotees, with brahmacharis especially, they have two biggest obstacles: attachment to women, attachment to parents. These are two powerful obstacles. And generally, in many cases I have observed that attachment sometimes to parents is more deeper than attachment to the opposite gender, because attachment to opposite gender is more on the physical plane, but attachment to family members is more on the emotional plane. And therefore it's much more deeper sometimes. Attachment on the physical plane is there, it's flickering, it comes and goes time to time. But attachment on the emotional platform goes deeper. Sometimes to avoid that kind of attachment is very, very difficult. And I know many devotees, many brahmacharis who have happened to change their ashram not because of attraction towards the opposite gender. That attraction may be there, but it's not as powerful for them. But they changed because they couldn't tolerate their old mother or old father being not taken care of. Just to take care of them, they happen to change their ashram. So this attraction, this attachment on the emotional plane is also very, very powerful. But Narada here, as a Dasiputra in his previous life, he could overcome that attachment to his mother. The moment his mother died, he just did the last rituals and he left from there looking for those Bhakti Vedantas. He didn't lament over the death of his mother. And that mother for this child, Narada, was the only source of protection. She was the only person for this little child who would take care of him. But he was not worried because his heart was filled with the attachment to those Bhakti Vedantas, because of which he could overcome the attachment towards his mother. For a little child, the attachment to mother is so powerful. But just see, he could overcome it because he had something higher. Therefore, sadhu sangha, one meaning to the word sangha is association, but another meaning to the word sangha is attachment. Sangashteshu upajayate. There the Prabhupada says Sangha means attachment. So sadhu Sangha means attachment to sadhu, attachment to sadhu, attachment to sadhu, sadhu Sangha, sarva shastra ko hai. This is the only one thing that can be superior to attachment to the opposite gender. It's attachment to a spiritual personality. Therefore, we see practical examples. Srila Prabhupada's so many disciples, as we heard some days back, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, he was expressing his own experience. Such a beautiful, it was very heart touching the way he explained, right sitting here in Vrindavan, how he was traveling with Mr. Nair for that Juhu deal in a vehicle, and one side Mr. Nair was sitting, other side this woman was sitting. And while they were traveling, he was feeling very uncomfortable sitting next to this woman. But somehow he said, I didn't want it to disturb the progress in the deal that was going on. And he said how he was tried to be seduced by this woman sitting next to him. And he said, first go, this woman is trying to touch Maharaj at the time, a brahmachari, young brahmachari. But he immediately thought, if I give in to this enjoyment that she is asking for, what will Srila Prabhupada think if Prabhupada comes to know? What will be the reputation of the movement if I happen to do something wrong like this? And he could overcome this strong urge to enjoy, because of his attachment to Srila Prabhupada. And he said, that day I understood how much I love Srila Prabhupada. This is a test. This is really as they say, a litmus test. If you really love your spiritual master, it's not so difficult to understand that. You can check it out time to time by when you see the form of a beautiful woman, especially when you know that somebody you can enjoy. When that opportunity comes, do you give in to that enjoyment? Or you can say no by the strength of that love. And Giriraj Swami Maharaj expressed that because he thought like that about Srila Prabhupada and his reputation and the reputation of the whole society, he could give it up. Such a strong attack. Like Haridas Thakur, he was attacked by a prostitute. He could say no, he was all alone. He didn't have an institution to represent. But his attraction to Lord Krishna, to the holy names, was so intense. He could comfortably avoid that enjoyment, that opportunity for enjoyment. So this is the only key. Attachment to a sadhu. Sadhu Sangha, sarva shastra koi. Unless we become attached to a sadhu, if we think we can avoid this attachment, or we can overcome this attachment to the opposite gender, we are in an illusion. So this higher taste, how at our level, what is it that at our level we have to do to get this attachment? Now Krishna is Rasaraj. He is the reservoir of all pleasure. And if we connect to Krishna, we connect to the Supreme Lord, we can overcome this connection to the material energy in the form of as representatives of Maya. And the biggest problem in this age of Kali, Kaler dosha nidhe Rajan. The dosha nidhe is disconnection from Krishna. Fault, as we generally say, dosha is faults. But what is the biggest fault? Forgetfulness.